Happy Sunday and welcome to the Trader's Crib for our first Sunday school charting session of the new year 2024. It is January 7th, 2024, and we are here today for Sunday school charting. So happy New Year, everyone, and let's get into it. So, of course, it's Sunday school, and Sunday school we're going to chart. So, I mean, it's self-explanatory. Um, but first and foremost, mindset is always on everything because as traders, we just need to embody the right mindset in order to embark on this long emotional journey that it takes us through from risking our money every day. That's just the reality, right? So mindset is very, 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 very important. All right. So welcome again, everyone, to Sunday School Charting. We're gonna start our mindset off today with referencing uh Robert Greene daily laws, and we're just gonna go through one day at a time. And I want to bring up today because it's the trader's crib. So what we're here to do, make money in the crib, right? So today's January 7th daily law speaks to money and success. Couldn't be a better way to start off the first Sunday school charting of the year. Money and success. Exactly. All right. So the daily law states, concentrate on maintaining a high sense of purpose, and the success will flow to you naturally. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about, I just need a little bit of data, light bill. Don't do that. Don't do that. Concentrate on a high sense of purpose, meaning selflessness outside of yourself, your legacy, your kids, your community, your neighbors, everyone outside of you. Something needs to be a purpose, awareness to others, education. Why the Trader's Crib is here. I got my purpose. I'm here to help y'all find yours. As I also teach you how to make money when doing so. Here we go. But your higher purpose, right? And then it'll come to you naturally. Case in point, do y'all really think Oprah Winfrey started with, I just want some money because I'm a broke black female like every other broke black female in America and I just want some money? No. She had a purpose and a calling that was bigger than herself. And the money followed. And we can go on to many, 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 many stories like that. But let's leave that there. Hold into that. Start off this week right. All right. And let's get into it. So welcome again. I hope you all are on a high note. Hello, good people. Hello, hello, as I'm looking into the chat now. And welcome once again. Okay. So now that we got our mindset out of the way, and we're going to prioritize our trading to a higher purpose, we're going to chart the ES. I'm on the MES continuous chart. Full disclaimer, I don't feel like recharting my ES continuous chart for the sake of demonstration today. Because it's my go-to chart, and I think I charted it pretty well for the next couple of moves. And for my live day trading community, you guys know what I'm talking about for my subscribers. But for everyone else today, we're going to start with a nice clean chart to get the basics of charting underway. All right. So before we do that, we'll kind of recap on the news. I'm not going to, we'll look in the Forex Factory, and that's about it. I'm not going to bring up any other news for the week. The weekend can be kind of, slow sometimes. We know what's coming up. We see the headlines, and I'm gonna just leave it at there. Just check your headline news for Sunday with CNBC and Benzinga. But I'm gonna focus on the week and then get into the charting because for all of our future trading geeks, we know we got 1 hour. Okay, so let's get into it. So for Forex Factory, recapping from last week into this week, so we can understand what we're about to chart, because I'm going to do a top-down analysis. This is the beginning of the year, and we're going to do a top-down analysis starting from I'm going to give an overview of the monthly. If there's any good patterns there to chart, I will chart them, and then we'll primarily be focusing on the weekly down to the 2 hour to 15 minute. All right. And we'll start with the ES, and then we'll go over any of the tickers you guys want to bring up today. It can be anything of your choice. I can go through my watch list. As always, I am a little more tech heavy in my watch list, but I do have a few other industries in there, so we can get a nice, good overview of the market. But overall, that will be the time that I'll let you guys either drop them in the chat or raise your hand and put them on mic, and we'll go from there as getting a nice, good charting practice, but also setups for those who need some good setups entering into this next week, because I know y'all here to make the money. Let's just be real. But I want to feed into that too for those of you who are trying to start your journey. So looking into next week, let's go back a week. The first week of January, we had a few bit of red folders. It started out kind of slow with Monday and Tuesday with nothing. We had the new year. And then we had a few red folders that did, I want to say, spike the market, at least spark the market into a nice pullback, I would say. I would call it that. But overall, the market came down last week more than anything based on the news data in these red folders, okay? And we had the FOMC minutes released on Wednesday that kind of confirmed that, yeah, we may be slicing interest rates, but it might not be as fast as you think it is. And then we're going to be and then following that, we moved into ADP, non-farm employment change, unemployment claims, and that data came out higher than expected, along with Friday unemployment rate and non-farm employment change coming in a little bit higher than expected as well. And then you're like, the market still tanked. It's all for a reason, and we'll get to that. So now, moving into this week, we are going to have a very slow week as far as red folders are concerned. It does not mean the market may not take off and collect liquidity along the way. So just be aware of that for all my more immediate to advanced traders out there. But for my beginner traders, take it slow. We have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We're coming in with only yellow folders, with Wednesday the first orange folder. So as far as live day trading community is concerned, we will not be hosting another live day trading session together until this Thursday of this week, this Thursday, okay? So we'll have Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday off to get practice for ourselves as we analyze what the market is kind of feeling out as it prepares for Thursday and Friday. Thursday and Friday, we're going to go into core CPI, core PPI data and unemployment claims, okay? And that data is going to help further set us up for what we know the long-term goal of January 31st and the FOMC announcing what the new interest rate may actually be based on all of this data and what they said they're going to do, which they all know. All of America is looking at them like, you say you're going to action, not all America, all the world, right? What you going to do, USA, bank, treasury, right? So that's what we're leading up to, and we're going to see how we respond. But overall, this is the overview of Forex Factory leading into this week. Now, how does that play onto the chart as far as our top-down analysis? We'll start with the S&P 500 mini chart. For those of you, micro chart. For those of you who trade the S&P 500 futures, this is where I like to get the foundation. And use our foundation for those of you, who like to actually trade the options of any other company that you want to trade. This kind of gives you an idea of what the market may do or maybe setting up for. So we're going to start with the monthly. Okay. This is the micro. Yes. The only difference here is that if you were to trade this using TradingView, tip for those who want to trade using TradingView with a broker, you can easily connect it and place trades directly here. All right. Now, from our monthly, we see that we're coming back up to a previous all-time highs. All right. So from the monthly perspective, I want to mark that. I want to know where our highest high is. Now, for the sake of colors and organization on my chart, these monthly highs are going to be solid, like orange lines. And we'll go from there. Okay. So this is, and I will label them. So we're going to start with resistance. All right. So this is going to be the top previous all times high. So this is the monthly high, just monthly high. There's no T in high, Randy. What are you doing? So we're coming up to it, right? We have this nice dip pattern. Okay. Now from here, once we hit it, because I do think we're gonna continue to try to come up to it. Once we hit it, we're gonna need to make a decision based on this monthly high if we're gonna continue and move further past it and make a newer high, or we're going to retrace and pull back, or we're gonna move sideways, right? All probabilities here. All right, so that's resistance on the monthly chart, S&P 500 futures. Okay, and you can trade the same level. These same levels should coordinate if you're using the regular ES. It doesn't matter. I'll switch back to that chart as we get into our advanced trading. So for resistance, I mean for support, excuse me, we're showing support. I'm going to take this most recent dip that we had, most recent. I could chart further low, but for day trading sake, I just want to understand as I'm zooming in and zooming out of the chart where my most recent support was created, where my most recent support was created. All right. So actually what I could do here, let me, education purposes. Okay, resistance, since I'm gonna keep these two the same color as like our trading zone. The monthly is gonna really um set the stage for our active trading zone that we're want to zoom in and focus on as far as day trading goes. So in this case, we're gonna do how we want to label this monthly. What pattern do we have down here? Do we have any significant? We have a tweezer bottom. So I'm gonna call it the monthly tweezer bottom. So we can also get familiar with our candlestick patterns because they matter. Monthly tweezer bottom support, however you want to label it, or not, or do your thing, trader's choice. Now come into the weekly. All right, so we got monthly support resistance, nothing else to do. Now come into the weekly, and we're going to look at and do the same thing, finding our most recent support and most recent resistance, but we kind of want to try to stay within the monthly if we can. So we do know, we see and we recognize there's wicks that have protruded above this, which is great, but it aligns with the weekly high here. Nothing has moved. So we're not going to chart another weekly, okay? That's why I say as high as we can. So then we're going to come down a level. What I mean by come down a level, I'm looking for the next significant candlestick pattern that shows a level of resistance. These candlestick patterns usually are in the shape of like evening stars or what we can call a shoulder pattern here. Things like that, okay? Because we are already above this particular tweezer top, we are going to go to the next one, which is a tweezer top, turn around evening star pattern here. We're above that where, let's see, we're going to mark, let's go ahead and mark this current high before we go back, since we have our cursor. And this is why I prefer the crosshairs on the chart, because I can easily just set my cursor and kind of see where I'm looking. So because I'm in some wicks, what I'm going to immediately do is mark my most recent, which is just from this past 2 weeks, high as my weekly, because I'm in wick territory. And then I can come back in here and catch this level as well. Either way you want to do it, I would mark both. I will mark where this doji candle is and this breakdown candle, where this candle breaks out from the doji. Okay, I will mark the top of that candle. I will mark the top of that and I will label it as weekly candle body for me, because I know the close of the top of the candle body like that when it's next to a doji on a shoulder, price is going to run up there and turn around, right? So this is weekly or long term for my swing traders out there. Whoop, whoop, swing traders in the house. All right. So we're talking about the top of that candle. This candle was created, the candle I'm looking at, it's created from the weekly time frame, January 18, 2022. January 18, 2022. I'm taking the top of that long candle and I'm signifying it as resistance. I can put top, but red is good enough for me. All right. Then I want to take this most recent one and I want to label it accordingly as well as another weekly level of resistance. Okay. And I'm going to label this one weekly. Scoot this over. Is that really a tweezer? I have to go in and edit that. So, no, take that back. That's not what I want to do there. I'm gonna leave this one. I'm gonna leave it because I know I'm recent, so I'm gonna get a daily level there. Let's just wait. Let's leave the further back one as a weekly support because we want to trade to it. If we can trade to it, that's gonna be a better trade. As we get in the pullback here and we can trade to this level, that's gonna be an awesome setup. So we want to acknowledge that and keep a bird's eye view. Sometimes I can go zoom in myself. So I got to check myself. Y'all seeing it happen in live time. So here we go. So what we're going to do for resistance, for support, golly, y'all, today, for support, okay, how we're going to chart support today on the weekly time frame. We have all these fair value gaps. All of these green rectangles are fair value gaps. We're not going to take the bottom all the way down here. We're going to take the bottom of our first, most recent weekly fair value gap, the close of it. So if price came down and filled it, that'll be close of it. That's the major level we want to pay attention to as day traders. Is this fair value gap closing for support? Because as you can see, we have quite a distance between the next fair value gap from the support perspective. So we're going to label it accordingly, weekly. And for me, I'm going to label it weekly fair value gap close. And I know it's green into the bottom. So I know for me, this is support. This is my color coding for support, trader's choice. All right. Weekly fair value gap close. All right. Because I like to identify the candlestick patterns or what's going on. All right, so we got monthly, we got weekly, support and resistance. Now let's come down to daily. All right, now in the daily, we want to stay between the zone if we can, our weekly zone. All right, and we want to mark daily lines. So we want to start with resistance. We'll start at the top. Now, here's current price, our gray line, 47.34. That's what price closed on Friday. Our most recent top, peak, high, candlestick patterns only. That's what I love to trade off of. All right. We're going to take the highest part. It's going to be here. And I'm going to take candle bodies, not wicks. Candle bodies, not wicks. I'm taking candle bodies, not wicks. Okay. Okay. All right. And I'm going right at the top of this doji because this is my highest candle between these three. Can be a little level depending on who you ask. I don't care what you think. We're taking the middle one, and which was created on December 28th, okay, 2023, as our resistance. Resistance. And you can either label it, you can just label it as daily resistance. That's good enough. Whatever for your brain, yo. It's your chart. I ain't got to look at it. You do. All right. Now for support. Now that I got my words flowing for me. Support. We're on a daily, longer time frame. Swing traders in the house. Woo, woo, swing trade, sweat up. Okay, We're looking for, again, fair value gaps or order blocks that are most recent and or candlestick patterns that are reversal. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking for support. Candlestick pattern reversal, order block, or fair value gap. In this case, we're going to chart a few different things. So let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to mark is the close this fair value gap. Why? And I'm only speaking for the present. You guys can ask questions later as to why, what I would do in a different scenario. But in this case, I'm marking the bottom of this one. Why? Because it's still here on my indicator. 2, I see a wick that's went through it, but not a candle body that has closed it. So that means this level of support is still at play because we have a wick rejection, we have price action running from it. And the fair value gap still yet to be closed by a candle body. Those 2 reasons are enough for me to mark this as support. So we're on a daily still, daily fair value gap close. Boom. Now, as price is coming down, as I see this just on onset, y'all see price turning around. Doesn't take a rocket science to see the price is turning around. We need another level to the bottom before we get to the weekly fair value gap. Let me go back to it. Yep, that way. Okay. So we want to acknowledge this daily fair value gap here because it's before our weekly. So what you can do is you can do 2 more lines, squaring it off, rectangling it off, whatever. And then we're going to, whatever floats your boat. We want to make it exact as possible. That's why I'm zooming in here. All right, because we want these numbers. Why do we want these numbers? Because they're going to end up being take profit orders, okay? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the top line and you're going to want to label it daily fair value gap open. Exactly for what it is, because this is a close. So you want to remember that this is an open. As you want to remember that the further bottom one is the close of the same one that you really own. So if you want to do something like, let's do something like this. Say you're one of my experienced traders and you have acknowledged this entire fair value gap because you've been in the trade. Some of y'all are holding puts for a while. So that's fine. So you acknowledge this. So this may be for you, if you were following me, this would have been labeled daily fair value gap open. So what you could have done here was did something like a 1. This is all just whatever helps you stay organized in your brain to know when you need to press the button to get out and stay in and trust your gut and all of that stuff. Whatever works. Is all. I'm just giving you more options to what you got to do. All right. So it can be clear. All right. So daily fair value gap close at the bottom of it for the second one. Because we're acknowledging we got 2 fair value gaps, right? Duh. Okay. All right, we just keep it simple, man. Like, we're not gonna complicate it. And then we run into our weekly fair value gap close before running into this little baby one, before running into the order block. Now, for those of you who are like me, who like to use a rectangle, you could do this because it's going to show up on any time frame once you put it there to signify your order block. And then that could be the way you want to chart. Whatever person, you can extend this out so you can see where price action dips into it and you in the order block because you're like, oh, the order block going to fill and the order block is going to go from, let's say, now I know I'm in the order block once the candle has broken past the previous high. So I'm acknowledge the previous high to that breakout as the start of this, the highest, most peak of this consolidation, put it that way. And then we know that we can take profit right here at the bottom of that first breakout candle leading into the continuation breakout of it, right? Go ahead, Tandra.
So I'm thinking that your gap isn't showing because you're on a continuous chart. Is that why your gap doesn't show?
I am on the continuous chart.
Oh, okay, because in MES I got a gap there.
Okay. We'll get to
Where
the
before
discrepancies when I
before
switch back to
yeah,
my other chart. Let me
got it.
just
Okay.
do like a quick like
Yep.
run through educational how to chart what we're looking
Yep.
at.
Got it. I was
And
about to
then
say,
we'll get into all
yeah,
the
I'm
us
like, this
pros
is
and what we do. Yeah, I got
right.
you.
I was about to say, now why does this look different? But I
I
did
got
screw.
you. That's fine. I got you. No
Okay.
worries. All right. So just in general, like y'all just the what we're overall looking at. And we'll get into discrepancies. All right. Thank you, Tandra. So you can extend this out. Well, price will come down. If you are expecting price to come down into the order block, you can, use things to keep your chart organized. That's one thing I want to help teach and set a foundation here. And that will help your trading. All right. So this is what we're charting for the daily. And that's it. I'm not putting any more lines. This is already enough. Okay. Because you can come up here and, if you want to mark this so you can know where price may run up and clear this little liquidity as daily fair value, that's no problem. On the resistance side, you can acknowledge this one. I have nothing against that. Long as you can read your chart, that's all that matters. I'm not with you on that side. I'm with you here in spirit. Okay. Little daily fair value gap, however you want to label it. This is going to be open for me to the top side. I use colors to differentiate. Okay, so that's my thing. All right. And price action, of course, you know what current price is. So again, boom. But just so you can acknowledge it, so you can know where you're. Wait, because we're about to zoom into the 2 hour. So that would be the most I would do. I would stop because we're about to put in more lines. So just stop. All right, now let's go to the 2 hour. Now here come the day traders, and let's get this set up in. We got 30 minutes. All right, so we can ask questions and let's bring in the more advanced and let's get our quick analysis in, and then I'll get into tickers and it'll just be a repeat of the same, but at least I'm laying the foundation. All right, that's the flow of Sunday school charting, a foundation for the newbies, and then I have all of my pros come in with me and we'll hash it out. All right, so looking at the 2 hour chart and looking at where price action lines up to where what we've already charted, we can zoom to see exactly where our monthly is and squeeze, and it gets real small up in here. But right now, as day traders, we're focused on the next best 2 hour candlestick chart pattern move. The next best. Now, what happened in the past? Next best 2 hour best, not good. Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good gets better than your better is better than your best. Bye. Something like that. Better, best. Okay. We're going to be the best traders in here. So this is what we're doing. The next best setup from the 2 hour perspective, looking at order blocks and fair value gaps. Now, this is where, since we've charted the foundation, I'm going to switch back into my chart that I've already charted, try to get back on with Tandra of your discrepancy. So I'm on MES continuous, and I don't know if ES looks similar. So here's where, and I can adjust, some of these too. But see, I've already charted. I didn't chart the close here, but we can move some stuff and make that happen. I have a few things going on. But what gap are you speaking of, Tandra, and what platform are you seeing it on?
Of course, I'm on Bigger Swim,
Okay,
and it
thank you.
must be the change in contract. It might have been a contract change.
Are you
So
on MES?
both. It's on ES and on MES.
Okay. So is it showing
On
that
the
like,
daily. It's on the daily.
okay, hold on.
Uh,
Let me go here. Let me go to the exact contract. You are on, but I
I
still
got
don't see it.
4606.25 and 4607.25. Oh, that's
You
ES.
have a
Yeah.
daily gap?
I have a daily gap.
40, say the numbers again.
40, 4660 25 and 4607 25. Or I'm sorry, 4660 75 and 4607 25. I have a
46.
daily gap. So it happened, that gap happened. I'm thinking it must be the contract change. So from 12/4 to
Yeah.
12/11, it must be contract change.
Yeah. So I have, I guess, yeah, it definitely has to be the contract change, but I don't know how to adjust it in Thinkorswim the way that. So I wonder if it's, let
Or
me see.
on trading view, probably. Yeah.
On Trading View, there's the B adjust. Let me see if the gap is there when I take it off. It is. Okay, there we go. So what you're seeing is, excuse me. So Tandra is talking about this gap. Is this what
Yep.
you see, Tandra?
That's it.
There you go. All right. So it's a contract change gap. In TradingView, an option that I learned from our also gracious, also faithful Trader Script sister, Maria, that the B adjust can help you adjust for that contract change. Did you see it switch, Tandra?
Yep.
Okay. You just need to see if there's a similar feature to that in Thinkorswim. We just
Got
need to
it.
figure that out, and I'll help you figure it out, but we'll figure it out.
So I'm sorry, keep going.
Okay. So so now coming into my 2 hour. All right. Because I have stuff started a little bit different and I want to move some stuff around for how I do. Here, I want to bring in the pros analysis as we're preparing for the next move tonight, looking at this fair value gap. If anybody has analysis, I can open the floor for that, or I can start with my own. Um, I'm still holding the sentiment that price can come down. That price will come down
I
more so than
agree
things.
because futures went down and tested it, but as you said, it did not put a body through it. But
Right.
SPY and SPX did not because it happened before the market opened.
Right. Right.
So I think because so is that a normal thing that we're seeing? I guess I never thought about it that way. I'm like, oh, SPY and SPX didn't do it because it happened before market opened. So
So play the
the
chart you're in first and foremost, and how deep it's going to go per that chart. I do think it's overall going to come down across the board, but I just don't want to lose that. Like, if you feel the future is going to do it because of what you read on the futures and you're a futures trader, Tandra, then play the futures chart that you're in.
right,
Because
but I'm a play SPY as well.
I
So
know.
that's the
So
other
what
part.
I do is
Okay.
I play futures aggressively overnight, blah, blah, blah. I play SPY extremely conservative. Because you got to remember, a lot of the times the move will happen for us with MES, but it won't happen for us with SPY. We're trying to catch the daily move of SPY. And what if the daily move is stagnant all day?
Right.
So I have to play more conservative with SPY than I am in MES because like that's basically what happened Friday. If you didn't make your money overnight, you basically was kind of like having to play dodging bullets on Friday. That
Yes,
volatility was crazy, was it not?
it was. It was.
This part that so let's just zoom in on Friday. Let's recap for people who missed it. All right. So
Right.
looking for
I was
the
in
two.
some of that volatility on Friday.
I
So
know
yeah.
we all were. I'm right there. I'm right here with you. So if we look at Friday, let's start at midnight. All right, so it's Thursday, Friday midnight. So we talking this candle. Okay, we looking at here. All right, we're looking at this. Okay. And price came down, up, and man, like where did it really go? Like let's just like seriously, especially based on like the wick up, down, and especially
Yeah.
this little area right here, because this candle is 8 a.m. So from 8 a.m., right, this long blue candle. from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We went all the way down here on 4702.
On the news.
All the way up here
Right.
to 4760 to all the way back down to meet in the middle at 4719.
Right. Yeah. But that's a day trader's dream. That there's moves in there that we could take advantage of. So yes.
If you know how to scalp
Because we're in
well.
and out. Yeah. So that's not a whole that's hard to
It's not a
hold
bad thing.
analytical.
It's
But
just like
yeah.
you gotta know what you want and you
Yeah.
gotta see it. So if you're gonna just day trade it in and out, there's nothing wrong with it. So that's where the 2 hour and the 15 minute is gonna come into play. And so we can look at that right now. So that's why I have these 2 hour, 15 minute. These is where my dotted lines come in at. Okay. So we had a 2 hour, we had, let's see, what am I looking at now? So I'm on the ES1. Let's move some stuff around. So let me get rid of this line. 2 hour fair value gap open. Okay, our next 2 hour fair value gap open is up here. Okay. Then we have our 2 hour fair value gap close, which needs to come back, could come back. Now, here's the thing. How many wicks? Let's just label it. Hold on, let me label 2 hour fair value gap close. Okay. So how many wicks do we have penetrating down through this fair value gap? Class. And do
Is
we
that
have
three or do you
chaperones? Moms, are our
have
kids safe? Yes or no? Do we have wicks with bodies in their fair value gap? It could mean something, but it couldn't. It's just like we just want to answer these questions no matter what. And so the first question we want to ask, do we have wicks in the fair value gap? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Does one of the wicks go through the fair value gap? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It could do a few things here in the situation. And we got candle bodies in it. It's the whole family. It's like, family vacation or family reunion, maybe. We got all the scenarios in one. So now what do? Okay. We have the probability that price could want to bobble and stay up. Okay. Bobble. I'm saying bobble because price is stricken through this fair value gap, which could signal that may not want to deal with it anymore, may not come down with a body. It could still further come down, but the key word here is bobble. As far as day trader perspective and your patience and your anxiety goes and your trader psychology, that's what I'm speaking to. Okay? Patience pays, patience pays, patience pays. The mantra is patience pays. All right. So we could be bobbling here and coming out and wanting to come back up to this liquidity where we did not strike through. We have a lot of liquidity up here that did not get strike through. Now I know I have a lot of old lines, so we can take these off. Let me see where can I take them off yet? Because this is my go-to chart for when I'm not in the room with y'all. So I kind of want to leave my stuff where it's at because I know lines turn into resistance support and everything else. I'm gonna leave that there because that one's still in play. Because even though we come back up here, we may not want to come back all the way up here and through here. Looking at the daily perspective, we can bounce up and make another shoulder. This is why. So now I'm kind of transitioning. Hopefully for those beginners, we got the foundation of how I'm overall setting up support and resistance and what I'm looking at. Now we're getting a little more advanced and understanding why this line is still here on this chart, because this is an M as far as double top goes in your candlestick patterns, what you need to learn. This is a double top. What a double top can do is potentially form a triple top, or we can have a little shoulder off to the side. All right. This liquidity right here lets me know that the possibility of a shoulder is evident. It lets me know the price can retrace up here, snag this liquidity, but not be strong enough to come all the way back up to make a new time high just yet. It's all about timing. We're day traders here. We need to play one day at a time and be patient. So recognize there's a little bit of liquidity here. Price can just snag it and still come down. Awareness. Coming back now to our 2 hour. When we zoom into the 2 hour, we see a hell of a lot of liquidity that same level as that daily fair value gap close. Oh, is that a coincidence? I think not. I don't believe in the world of coincidence when it comes to white man money. So we're gonna go over here and we're gonna recognize that we have liquidity that can still be snagged. All right, and use that and see how it's wicking and rejecting the bottom as an attempt to come up and snag it and then come back around to then put a body through this 2 hour fair value gap. Because which fair value gap, let's play elementary school for all my moms in the house. Which rectangle is bigger? The green one or the red one? Class, the bigger the rectangle, the bigger the fair value gap, the larger the magnet, the larger the pull, the larger price is going to go. Now, we're talking about small move because this is where day trader focus right now. We know the swing trader, we got that. Swing trader price still come down because your large magnet, magic, because it's magic, baby. It's candlestick magic magnets. Okay. But from the daily, I want to give a perspective here to not trip up my long-term mentality people, because you have to identify, which is Tuesday. We're going to get into trading profiles to help you identify, are you naturally more swing or are you naturally more day trader mindset wise? We'll work from there to help you develop the weaker side. From the day trader perspective, your large magnet is down here in this order block, and you're already in a large magnet and you're further pulling to this large magnet of the order block. Order blocks are magnets too. From a 2 hour, if you want to be in and out, you got to switch. If you want to be in and out, you got to recognize you're going to pull back as you come down every time, or pull back as you come up every time. You got to recognize that. All right. So where we're going. Okay. So we're rejecting through, like I said, this is considered my medical people. This is an exit wound. This is an exit wound. So that means we're dead. It's kind of hard to patch up both sides if you're laying on it. My ENT people know that. So we're coming up. We could potentially coming up. How far into this liquidity coming up? We got one fair value gap, little baby one. We got two little baby. Usually the baby ones get taken very quickly. And then we have the larger one. This is where we're going to need to practice patience when we get in a large 2 hour fair value gap. If we get a wick above this daily fair value gap line close, which is aligned very closely to the highest wick within the fair value gap, the daily fair value gap close line aligns with the highest wick within the fair value gap on the 2 hour. If we get another candlestick pattern above that, we could, emphasis on the could, we could continue to close it. Why? Because there's an order block right above it. Why? Because there's an order block right above it. Okay? So if we get the signals, no, I can trust this next couple handles, da 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 da. I hope I'm breaking this down and I hope it's all flowing and making sense. So now, let's take a look at the 15-minute and see what happened to create these wicks. I already studied it. Dun, dun, dun. Now, what do y'all see? I want to run the answer. What chart pattern? I want all my expert, more advanced, dropping in the chat. Please don't rush off mic all at once. But what pattern is forming on the 15-minute that confirms the wick rejection, exit wound, kill shot from the 2 hour perspective? I know y'all see it. Please tell me. Please give it to me, please. Please, Lord Jesus. What candlestick pattern? So let's see. Tundra and M tweezer top. Okay. I don't want to see how y'all thinking. And M from the 15-minute. We got an M tweezer top. Any other? Cup and handle. Okay. All right. What else we got? Jen, keep going. Anybody else got anything they may want to share? I just want you to just throw out any suggestions that are on your head, on your mind, of what is forming from the wicks that we just witnessed, because that's what we're looking at right now. that happened, those last few candlestick patterns. That's what we're looking at. Marsha says a W. All right. I love this. This is great. This is amazing. All right. So I see the cup and handle, potential cup and handle W combination move. All right. If you zoom in further, if Tandra's talking about this, I mean, she said tweeter top. So we see the tweeter top here, price rejection. But I see where price is, if we look at my previous charting lines, price is not protruding past this 2-hour fair value gap close level at 47.20. From the last couple, hours of the market. This is 11 o'clock on Friday to close. 11 o'clock on Friday to close. This is what we got. So if y'all are predicting cup and handle W, then I see it too. And it's a big juicy one, ain't it? If it don't fail.
Yeah, I was about to say that cup and handle is going to send it up. That's not going to.
It could,
It's
but
going to probably send it
don't
up.
forget. Sometimes you zoom in so close, you forget what's on the zoom out. Now, for my swing traders, where did I leave y'all? Price was still going down. This W could fail, Tandra.
Yes. Because it's cattywampus.
Facts. So, right? Technically, if I take off the box, technically this low is a little lower than this one. And it's coming up, but it paused. It didn't. We're not at the neckline yet. And then even still, we got to break this high. So yeah, sure, we got a few 15-minute fair value gaps in there. Okay, let's mark them and see. This is the part I love. I love you. Like, oh yeah, I see you got some little. Oh, you want to be cute? Okay, all right. Here, y'all about to see the crazy trader Randy come out. Okay, y'all see a little. Okay, we're gonna mark these little
So
fair value gaps.
Randy, real quick. So, and I see those tweezer tops, and I see that the reject candle, the red candle, is bigger and stronger. It looks like that's why I see those two tweezer tops there, and then down at that next little W.
Okay.
And next dip, that little. I see those two, and I'm thinking, that's where it's like, that's why I'm thinking is it might push it down because
You're right. You're absolutely. You're
okay. That's what I'm. That's what
stay
I'm
there.
seeing.
You're just
okay.
Stay right there. I'm getting to it.
Okay, all right. That's like that's why I answered the way that I answered. That's what I
that's
see.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, you can come in there and you can be like, yeah, oh, I see these little 15. So we're just gonna put 15. Don't matter what it is, because they're small. Because of what Tandra's talking about, the pattern. So irregardless of the fair value gaps you see, this turnaround means something. She's not wrong. Because that is also signifies how this W could fail. So we zoom out. We mark the 15-minute. Boom. We check the wicks here on our 15-minute before we leave. We check these wicks. We put a line at the very top. Is it within any other fair value gap? No. It didn't leave no kids. Because Tandra right in so many ways because of the long-term perspective. So then we come back to the 2-hour. Oh, that 15-minute fair value gap is in a long 2-hour wick. Where the guarantee in that on a 2-hour? Somebody tell me. Yeah, it's going to send it up, but it's going to send it up as a what? As a quick just run up and...
A liquidity grab probably, yeah.
Thank you.
Or build another order block to send it down.
Or that. Thank you.
Look at me acting like
where is it on the 2-hour? Nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere. No level of significance. It's literally in the middle of an order block. So that means we could just grab this and stay right here and turn all the way back around. Because guess where there's still liquidity left that needs a candle, that needs, like, especially when we zoom out from the daily. This wick, if I take this line and measure it you kind of really didn't close this fair value gap. I guess
Yeah, I was
the
about to say the
kids
same
are
thing. I think,
still
yeah,
waiting in the daycare.
yeah, it still didn't completely close it. Yeah.
With all this other liquidity and our large magnet being down below, stay high, y'all. Meaning stay zoomed out. Remember the long-term goal. So if you're gonna play bullish, don't hold long. Get the liquidity, get out. If you're gonna play that 15-minute move, you better take it first target. Like I always say, always take your first target. You better take it, you better run, you better flip position, you better get on the side. That's gonna be your cue. If anything, the best thing to do, y'all want to know how tans to get in at the top? That's how. Wait the price hit right there. Then put a sell order. See how much profit you get. And hold it. See what it do. But we can't always wait and be patient. We're gonna see exactly how price action is gonna be. But like we see the long-term pattern here. Right? We see the indecision candle.
I
Is
was
it
about to say that's
indecision?
an indecision candle. It's like, I don't know.
But when but in the I don't know, we know we're gonna at least come back and get the highest, the first highest we're gonna go is this daily fair value gap. At the most. If that's even if we do it.
Yeah.
So that
I
means
guess
the
when it
new
gets for it to do that, to when you think about it that way, if to basically watch to see if it's going to go back up that high, that's a good way of knowing that at some point it will turn back around and head back down and then still come back up for that point again. That's kind of where that decision comes in, that we know it's going to come back because, as you said, it's going to leave kids up there, or or it's going to have to back test that wick that it will have left.
got it, Sandra. I mean it's just it's clear. And in about 5 minutes, we're gonna see exactly which way the future is gonna set us up for the next move. Because guess what? Everything that I just said, it may not even care to do that part, right? It don't have to even come that high. It can come right here and say, I can't reach this. Most likely it will reach this little liquidity. But this peak, which what Tandra's pointing out is a tweezer time, that one, don't bet on that. Please don't bet on that. don't bet on it breaking that.
Yeah, that
Like
was
I
some
would
strong displacement. I don't know what happened. Yeah, that was some strong displacement there. Was that
I agree.
I'm trying to see what time that was. That was so that was when that was the discussion we were having on
That was
Friday about
right after you took profit and
what
yep.
the silver bullet was going to do. Like he said,
Mm-hmm.
it should send it down. The silver bullet should send this down, and it didn't do it
11:15.
within that 10 to 11, but after 11 it sent that thing right back. So I'm like, well, it wasn't. I guess it technically wasn't the silver bullet that did it, but I was thinking the silver bullet should have sent it down.
Either
And
way, it did send it down.
yeah,
Like yeah,
it
the
ended up going down. Yes, because it got to a point where it was hesitating. It couldn't go any further.
couldn't
It
go
would
any
not go
further.
any further.
And
So
it was just yep.
that's another time of kind of looking when you have that hesitation where it's like, oh, it's probably about to turn around now. So because it could not push past a certain point.
Now for my
So
people who are more advanced traders, isn't this on time? 11 o'clock. Isn't that the next move? We have the 8
yep.
to
Mhm.
10 and then the 11 o'clock move. Clockwork. Our mornings are done. We get great lunches, and our life is fabulous. Right? So I'm just saying, wake up early, 6 a.m., look at the market, do your futures trade, do your pre-market, then get up in your actual market and get out by noon and go about your day. Yay.
Yeah, well,
Because
I'm gonna start working on
all
it.
all this, literally all of this,
Yeah. Yeah, that morning move is
all of this was
yeah. I
from
want to work on the afternoon because that's when I'm right now with working. That's where I'm the afternoon. But I can't find anything. It's harder.
I know, because that's what I'm saying. You see how all of this, but if you call it right and you see your liquidity right, Tanja, you don't have to do nothing but wake up in the morning, set it. set it and just go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it. It started at 8:30.
It, yeah, I'm at work at
That
6:45.
you would have set it. All this would have been
Set it
4 to
already ahead of
6.
time.
If you have the like inclination, especially on certain days, because
Yeah.
there's certain days that it's just obvious where price is gonna go, Sandra, and you know it.
I already done posted my trading psychology in the Telegram chat. So just
So like the
seriously.
days that it's ridiculously obvious that price is gonna do a run up, it's just like it's usually there by 6 in the morning. It usually is. And you just set it, you just wait all whatever. Oh, I know it's gonna do this because price hasn't done that. We done rejected here. Da 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 da. Like certain setups are just boom. You put the take profit in. You don't even think about it. I've literally
I
done
know,
that.
right? You're gonna have me dismissed from work, which I'm fine with. You're gonna have me dismissed. Like
I'm
Tom,
telling you,
Miss Kelly's
lunchtime, the
always
bell.
on her phone.
I'm telling you, what's gonna happen to you one day
That's
is the lunch bell gonna ring and you're gonna have a take profit order at the same time.
right.
That's what's gonna happen.
Right. Because lunch is like 11:15 or something like that. It is. You're
It's gonna
right.
go and then your phone gonna go and you're gonna be like, damn, I made money.
Yeah, I think I will. I will. I'm gonna have to start looking at that morning. Some of them. I guess if I could, just like that, I did that overnight move. That I did that an overnight trade. I probably should, like I said, spend some time in the morning taking a look too. I
The
just don't
move is the
usually look at it.
move. It don't matter when it happened. It's the setup is either there or not, Tandra. Like you know what
Right.
you're looking for.
Yep.
And then just take profit at your fair value gap. Boom, done.
Yep. I see it. Yep. I understand. I get it. I just, like I said, I gotta see what I need to do with Tandra to get her to
Yeah,
that.
I got you. You
Yes.
got it, girl. You got it. All right. So it's almost 6 o'clock. We'll see how the futures markets jumps and start. But I do want to allow time for other tickers because I really got a deep analysis in this month of like the whole top down how to trade because I really want us to understand how to execute these things. This is our 2024, we're really doing big things with the trade script. So we're gonna move along and I'm taking as many of y'all with me as y'all want as who is willing to come, I would say. Um so any other tickers you guys want to go into, of course I have my watch list, which I said is mostly tech heavy and I'm more analyzing the gist of the market with the Dow, the Nasdaq, and we can go into those if you guys want further market analysis of what the market may do. Fuji just kicked on, which I feel like is gonna go down. So I look at it, right out the bat, it's like a red candle. But we're setting up for that. Of course, price action will make some wicks here, but we can look into Apple, see what Apple has planned, Adobe, Lilly, Nvidia, Amazon, HD, Netflix, and I actually decided to put Bitcoin and USD JPY back on my personal watch list. As if anybody has a random question on it, I can easily go to it without getting into a whole session about it, like separate session about it, but we are trading everything here in the Trader's Crib and just let that be known. So for in the chat purposes, is there any other tickers you guys want to look at for tonight as far as setting things up? I'll clear my stock charts drawings and we can do a quick, I'll put my lines on, label them and get through it so you guys can know what you're looking at, what overall direction I think, and kind of go from there. I'm already kind of set up with ES. I already know what ES is going to do, so there's no point in really beating the dead horse with that trade. You guys just got to figure out how you guys want to trade in. So are there any tickers? I'll start with Apple if nobody wants to kick things off, and I'll spend the next 30 minutes just going through my watch list, if that was okay. And I'll keep an eye on the chat. All right. So looking at Apple, Apple was downgraded quite a bit last week, starting off this new year and has taken a great plummet. Because it has stopped within another level of momentum candles, I think it's going to keep going. And so I just without any, not just looking at the daily, but looking at the weekly as well. Usually when this is what we call like a failed W or a failed cup and handle, and this is gonna probably go all the way down to the bottom here. I just believe that if I were to take it level by level, monthly doesn't give us much. If I take it level by level from the weekly perspective, I want to say that 176 clearing out this first weekly candle would be my first target as far as support goes on the weekly. And then the gap, acknowledging that weekly gap would be my resistance. And then from there, I'll be moving on to the daily, and that's 187 resistance, 176 support. And then from there on a daily, I will acknowledge the gap that took place as well. And I'll acknowledge 182 as a gap opening. And then I will acknowledge this little doji don't make nothing. That's an abandoned baby. That's about to be that has hardly any significance. This candle is so small. So when I think it comes up and fill this gap, I think it's gonna take the whole thing. It just to me seems very weak. And that's 185 for a gap close. Now there is a gap in between that gap and that gap in the gap, which it signifies that. So we could get a little bit resistant, but I think we could push through. 184 is where the gap closes in the gap. Okay, we want to be aware of that. Or 184. And then price will continue down from the daily perspective between these two candles. These two candles don't let's see. Is my indicator on? Should always be on. I don't know. I feel like I see it. There we go. Because I'm like, there should be fair value gaps in here. I'm looking like something don't look right. When you get good at it, you start to see things. So fair value gap wise, we have two fair value gaps pretty close to close back to back of each other. And then our consolidation, again, we're not worrying about color. These two candles seem to have not moved as much. So this will be an order block level. Plus, it is also aligns with a break, a gap area, right? So this will be our next level. Plus, also another plus, plus, a plus, a plus. We have the 176 weekly support line that I had charted right after those two fair value gaps. So I'm surely confident that Apple will slide right down through these two. It may get jumbled up. It may want to turn around halfway through. I would pray that it does. But if it doesn't, it'll slide right the way through and it'll bounce off of this 176 before coming back up. We can acknowledge the close of each daily fair value gap as levels to take profit if you were to day trade or swing trade Apple for your pleasure, profits, or any other goals you have. And I will, of course, label accordingly, open, close, open, close. But I just want to get through putting the lines there. So 178 will be the second fair value gap open, with 176 being that fair value gap close that aligns with the 176 weekly. And there is Apple. Okay. So I do believe we have more of a downward pull with Apple. Adobe, our friend, is also down pulling in the same way. NASDAQ is taking a dip as well. But we have some fair value gaps aligning with some physical Globex gaps here that need to be addressed from the daily. We'll start with the daily with Adobe for time's sake. And we'll acknowledge support by this gap. And we'll acknowledge resistance by this gap. And the resistance gap closes at 580. And the support gap closes at 544. The opening of the gap, 550. The opening of the gap to resistance size, 575 respectively. 574 respectively, sorry. So I see us kind of in a little bit of a order block situation. We'll most likely clear that to the bottom. There's a small little gap in between here. The bottom of that order block will be 559. If we finish down to 559, we could bounce and come back up and catch some more liquidity before coming back down. But I'm not really sure how Adobe wants to how to play it. It looks like giving me those small candles. I can't stand that Adobe gives, so I don't care to trade Adobe at all this week in kick rocks. Lily looks like it wants to make some really good all-time highs. It looks like it's about to really shoot to the moon. And it looks like for anybody who isn't in a in a call, should get into a call. So hold Lily maybe some long term if you have the capital to do so. Lily looks like it wants to take off very well. It may still stagnate a bit. Looking at the daily perspective and weekly, it's trying to make new all-time highs. So based off of this pattern, it may very well just chop a little bit more as I switch between the weekly and the daily before finally gaining enough strength to push further up to the upside. But I do believing that it's cooking to do that move without any level of support or resistance. That's just where we're at because we're at all-time high. We can mark the, of course, gap below support. If you want to mark the resistance at the top of this candle wick on the daily, that's fine. Great. Acknowledge it. If you were going to trade it, that's what I would do. The support will be acknowledged by the gap opening and the gap close. And we'll go from there. And that gap opening to the support side is 600. Gap close 591. Support resistance 636 for Lily to break through to make new all-time highs. We're currently at 618. Okay. And then Nvidia is doing a move kind of like Lily, where it looks like it wants to blast off to the moon and make new all-time highs. It's been sitting in this chart for a nice 40 days and 40 nights. And once we do a good biblical amount of time of something, it's time to make biblical moves. So if, again, Nvidia, another one that may be ready to buy calls on longer term out. It looks like it's building up some strength and could break up to the upside. It does have the potential to chop up a little bit, but I think it will, if you set yourself up accordingly, you will be with enough time, you'll be able to capitalize on the breakout when it comes, because Nvidia is another one I think eventually wants to make new highs. Amazon, a fan favorite. Amazon, just looking at the chart, no support and resistance charted from the daily. We'll zoom out and look at the weekly perspective because we've had Amazon here for a while. Amazon is not at all-time highs. It's still trying to recover back to it. It did take a split within the last couple of years. But overall, Amazon is trying to come up and meet its most recent all-time high area of consolidation before it can even decide to break out. So we're just trying to get up there. So we could potentially play long-term calls to keep building up that momentum and pushing up if we were to acknowledge on the weekly, the wick, to see if we are in this weekly fair value gap, which it doesn't seem like we are just yet. But we want to acknowledge this weekly fair value gap because it is significant and price is probably being pulled back towards there. So Amazon has a nice little trade for resistance back towards a weekly fair value gap. All right. As it's pulling back and meeting its most recent order block that it formed, it'll probably find a level of support here to gain the strength to take out the weekly fair value gap up to the top side. The weekly support, we will acknowledge this baby fair value gap that's right here. The reason why I want to acknowledge it, because if we can't even get past through that, this one don't even matter. Right? Not, at least not yet. So we're going to test back in through it. So what we could do, you can acknowledge that one, or you could take the big one. It's not that much space, but I'll acknowledge this one for now. And then I'll just acknowledge, they're so close. So I'll just go all the way down here for this to acknowledge the close of it. But overall, this is where we're trading for Amazon. And when we come down to the daily, we see that we're in a large area of consolidation order block. Already we have fell into it. And so in this moment, we need to clear it to build and then build back up so we can come back to the upside if that's what we choose to do. We have a gap that we're going to have to push through in order to achieve that goal. And we may just have to push down past this 139 level to build up enough strength to push further up. It just means a matter of time. I'm not sure if I'm really like gung-ho on an Amazon trade at this current present moment. HD HD looks like it's doing the flag move in a very ugly way that I predicted, which is very sad. But again, removing all the candles, looking at the weekly. Again, a Home Depot is not one that is at making all-time highs just yet. It's still trying to recover from its drop and get back up to those all-time highs. So it has just closed the gap from a weekly perspective and now has made like the largest dip pattern ever, and it's finally closes gap, which means to me we're probably going to chop a little bit more for Home Depot and then get enough strength to take out this order block before we can push up further into this highest mountain peak that occurred around $411. Uh $417 actually, excuse me. So again, long term wise, we would want to, how do I want to chart this? Let's take the close of the order block as weekly support. I mean, resistance, excuse me. I just some things. Oh my goodness. All right. And then we'll take the close, we'll take this gap down here as support, 329. And I'll leave that because this is already closed. I can already tell that. I don't want to put too many lines that I don't need on a weekly chart. So then we're going to come into the daily. And we're going to now look at this crazy consolidation of chop drifting slowly to the downside to make the most ugliest flag pattern I've seen, to then pop out to the upside and make it feel real scary for anybody who's in the trade. It's a 2 hour. Sorry, come back to daily. So like this ugly, slow chop down into this. Now, if we don't clear these two candles, we're probably not going to continue up to the top as soon as you may think. I ain't gonna lie. I believe that we could hit the 347 and potentially turn around, and based on how this like started a flag and then gap fell and then just all of a sudden just wants to pop back up. It just don't feel right. So it looks like we may have a level of resistance in this area of 347, 346, 347. Okay. Then once we hit that level of resistance, I want to see if we come back and close this gap down to the downside on the daily at 333. Because we have liquidity and a fair value gap on the daily down here. So Home Depot's a little sticky. We may need to use some patience. But when it moves, it moves. You know, it's the only thing I can say. Yay. All right. So Netflix, moving on, and Netflix. All right. So Netflix, again, another ticker that is still recovering. Netflix has a lot more recovery to do because it's been impacted by a few different confounding factors over the past couple of years. And one of those being, you know, the actors going on strike and no movies really coming out. It's kind of halted some things with Netflix, but it is slowly making a comeback. And it is coming up into close this weekly fair value gap, which aligns with a daily Globex gap. All right, that's what it aligns with. Um, so we're coming up to fill 512 is the ultimate close of the weekly. We're at 574, so there's still money to be left if anybody wants to play long-term calls with Netflix, right? Or just buy shares. Sure, whichever works. But I always like to give options people an option to figure out what options they want to take. Aha, badoomsh. Yeah, I know, very corny. So we're coming up here. Let's go back out. Let me get a weekly support. So this weekly support, because we've kind of dipped in and we're consolidating in this area, I'm gonna come down and take weekly to support the close of this fair value gap, the close of this weekly fair value gap, the second lower one. Let's do straight. Let's do. Whoops, wrong click. Oh my goodness, Randy, really? This button. Here we go. And then, so we're gonna come up and that will be the weekly, because if I take this lower one, I may not want to do that. And this is weekly time frames we're looking at. And I kind of like to keep things tight for day traders because I like to day trade myself. So, and look at how that weekly line lined right up with that breakout. Beautiful. So perfect. We have our levels of support and resistance from the weekly, and now we are here on the daily. And price is kind of ooh, snake-likey. It's very weird. I want to say it's trying to continue to come up here and keep an upward trend, even though it looks like these tops are kind of they're flattening. They're not like peeking around, and there's just like flattening dip, come back up, flattening dip. It's just a weird little trend here that Netflix has, but it's been doing that flattening, come back up, flattening, come back up, flattening, dip, come back. It's just kind of whatever. Hey, that's Netflix for you. So we'll see how it wants to continue to slowly chop before it moves again. So give yourself quite a bit of time if you're gonna play Netflix. Maybe some, verticals may be the best approach. To give yourself enough time and preserve capital. That may be the best strategy here to capitalize on Netflix. But I see more of an upward like swing trade with this, not in really else to go off of. And to just kind of segue in the night, just peek at a good old friend, Bitcoin. And now they are getting themselves back in the graces of individuals. Here's a weekly for y'all to know just how bad Bitcoin had dropped and how it's back into a neckline. Same patterns apply, no matter what you're trading. And it's coming back up, it's consolidating, it's gonna push eventually and get its way back up there. And then my old-time favorite Forex, USDJPY, is another one, weekly perspective, dipping and coming kind of back up to make some highs. I can't say these are all-time highs. You got to really come back and date this. May be all-time highs for USDJPY. Finally, yay! Oh, and then what's next? All-time highs always means everybody's gonna ride on a blissful high until the next thing that unites us as beings. Leave it like that. Yay. Um, but that's my overall watch list for tonight, you guys. If one last call for any additional tickers you guys may want to study together as a group before I let you guys go tonight. ES is pushing up at the moment, and I expect every bit of run up, run down, all the above right now. Um, as we look forward towards news at the end of the week. So I'm sure I actually positive Price is gonna do this probably liquidity grab. If you want to play this liquidity grab, I will play it. If you trust that, trust it, get out, and then just don't hold it long. But that's all I would say to this MES trade tonight because all this looks like it wants to come up potentially. Let's see if I go past this wick. If I enter here to here, that's $38 right there. If it was gonna close at daily, and everything about this feels like it may want to, because you gotta remember we got like what 3 days. Thursday is a red folder day. So how much can happen by Thursday, y'all? Like a lot. So like we could totally do $30 up. Because if we do that, right, even if it wicks it, because y'all look at the chart, it could wick up here. Y'all know ES. Come on. I mean, it can wick up here, come back down, because we still need the handle. And y'all know these handles, man, and ES, man, and these wicks, man. What else
Yeah,
to say, but
it still
man.
needs it needs, and that actually it's interesting how that aligns with it having to build a handle. The few days it's
You
going
did,
to need to do that.
you see that?
Yeah, yeah, that works. Yeah, because I mean, when is the next red folder? Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, so
It's crazy. So
that'll
like
be
to
a perfect
build the
amount of time for it to
handle.
build a handle. Yeah,
And even if you don't take it through it, okay, this is closed, but what if it just comes to the bottom of it? Or even just shit the hell, like here to the next fair value gap, $34. Who don't want $34 on ES?
yeah.
Nobody don't want $34 on ES.
So T said she's going to buy puts to close this opening gap.
So okay, let's
Nice.
go over it. Come on. Thank you, Tanza. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. So what she's talking about, let's zoom in, because her perspective is daily. Let me know if I'm wrong, Tanza. Friday close. Right? We're looking at the Friday candle. Friday close was here. I'm gonna change to blue and I'm gonna change to dotted. So 43, wait, 43, 47.34. Whew, 47.34. All right. Is the close of Friday and the opening of tonight is 47.35. Tansy, you just be grabbing any little bit of money. You don't even care.
That's about to say that's a
And I was
$1.
like, what? So
She's
she's
saying
looking at it
no.
differently. Yeah, that's what I'm
She's
like,
saying no. Oh, Tanzan's saying no.
because
Okay.
that's why I be don't be taking her trades. Okay, come on, Tanza. That's why everybody got their own strategy. I love this. We all read the chart differently.
Tanzan, what are your numbers?
She said, oh, is she looking at it from? Isn't that where price open?
47.41. She got in at 47.41, which is where it is, where it went up to.
Okay, okay. I see what she...
Oh, so she's saying it. So she got into where it just pushed up to, and then she's gonna ride it back down through
Right,
there.
yeah. So,
Got it.
okay, that's a
That makes
whole
sense.
Panda. I see it does make sense, but I don't
Yep.
know if I can stay in that mindset with Tanza that she thinking. Like that is her mind. That is a specific mindset, y'all. To know that, okay, since price open higher, we're gonna go higher first and then come back to close the gap. She's not wrong. I see it all the time. But
Yep.
god damn, Tanza, that's a mentality. Like shit.
Yeah, and she said she's gonna buy more the higher we go. So yes. No, I get it. I like that's a good strategy.
Hey, if you hey,
She knows it's gonna come back for that gap.
yeah,
So
I do too. But I woo. I just know I gotta shift a lot of stuff in my head to even adopt that. I can already feel it. Mm-mm.
yeah.
Yeah, you like me, Tandra's like, there's no way.
Like a whole dollar.
Yeah, like I'm thinking just the gas. She like, nah, well, if we gap, and she's right, because I see it all the time. If we gap open, we usually do run up first and then run back down.
Right.
So
Yeah.
then she looking at it like, okay, now I don't know
So
what time
we
frame. Now,
yeah.
what time frame do you know to get in on as the high? You use a 15-minute or 2 hour. That's all that comes
No,
down to.
yeah, I'm watching football too, guys.
Oh, girl.
I, so yeah, I get in. I look at the gap and whatever the opening is. So I if we because we bounced like as soon as we opened, we kind of bounced up higher. So if it forms to me a significant gap, so of about 5 points or higher, then I go ahead and start buying puts, but I buy them far out. And if you're buying a regular ES contract instead of an options contract, then you may have to hold through a lot of movement, but I'm
Mhm.
buying far out to me. So February 6th expiration
Okay.
in hopes that the gap closes in 1 month. This opening gap closes in 1 month. I do anticipate the gap closing within a
Mm-hmm.
month.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I buy, and it's really inexpensive um, in terms of the futures options contract. That's what I'm looking at. So that's always my mindset. If we have an opening gap on either SPX or ES, I will use the ES contract to close either gap. So this gap, of course, if we stay up high or even go higher, this will be the SPX gap in the morning, and of course, it will be the ES gap. And I'll just continue to buy more contracts as we go up. And then I'll, like Tandra and you said, Randy, I'll write it down whenever it occurs. And I won't be
So you
worried
bought
about it. Hmm.
so you
Go
bought
ahead.
ES contracts or you bought SPX
I
contracts?
bought ES
Probably
because it's,
both.
because we're on, because I can't buy SPX right now because,
No, because the market's not like okay. Yep.
uh-huh. So
Yep.
I buy the ES contracts. And then that way I'm already in
Mm-hmm.
if we do happen to go like 20 points higher, in the morning, if we're up 20 points, I will buy, more contracts up that high and simply have, I'll be averaging down on those contracts to move lower through that gap because, it will eventually close. It's going to be a gap. even if it only ends up being a 5 point gap, that's fine. But if we end up going higher, I will average into more contracts.
I get it.
You got it?
Get it, got it.
Yep,
Now, will
understand
the
my
rest of the
mindset.
room get it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just something that I do all of the time. That is literally my mindset. Like every single
No, I think
day that
it's a good consistent strategy, and if it's working for you, so
yeah.
that's great. Because see, what I was thinking when it first opened, like, ooh, it'd been nice to get a buy after it, dropped down and went back up. That's my thinking was get in at the low and ride it back up.
But you
So,
can also, but that is a good strategy as well. So it's just,
mhm.
if you believe it's going to go up a lot higher before it comes down, then that's another strategy as well. It's just whatever you feel comfortable doing.
Right,
I just,
right.
I just happen to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. But right now, like the way that when I just looked at it just now and I was calculating, like, ooh, because I mean, I'm practicing trying to do 5 or 6 handles, like for when I start trading ES, because that's all I want. Five, that's all well, not one, I want more than that, but that's the minimum that I could set. I could work with that. And it did that within this first little few minutes.
Yes. And the thing is, you could get your 5 handles if we gapped up 5 points.
Yeah.
However, but I know what you're saying. You're like, okay, well, if I buy this contract and I'm expecting to get my 5 handles in terms of when we close the gap, but what if we go up 40 points before we close that gap? Because that's possible too.
Yeah,
We can
mine
go
is
all
like
the way.
It is.
mine
And
wasn't
that's
even
why I'm
mine was
sitting
yeah.
duck.
Yeah, mine it wasn't even about the gap. Mine was my bias was that price was going to drop and then go back up. So
Okay.
I was just going to do 5 to 6 handles of this ride back up. That's it. Yeah,
And
that's
that,
all
and
I
you
was
could
doing.
do that as well.
You
I
could do
think it's,
that
Mhm.
I
because
think
the
it's
thing is,
perfect.
some
Yeah.
people like to be honest, Tanza. I feel like, and Tanza, you can correct me if I'm wrong. By all means, don't let me call you out anything. Tanza to me swings more than anything and will capitalize on a good day trade in the moment.
That's correct. That's
But
correct.
she has a more
Yeah.
swing trade mindset, not day trade.
Right. Right. And like I said, she's been watching this thing for a moment. So she knows she can do these moves fairly consistent and have mostly, have trades work out mostly in her favor. I
But
don't,
for what for me and you, for instance, right? Who need to be more in and out,
yeah.
you need to play the 2 hour.
Right. No, that's what I'm
Because
on. I'm actually on the 1 hour, but
and just
yes.
focus on
Yep.
each best two
Yep.
hour move and
Right.
go
Because
one to the next 2 hour
right.
move. And
Because
then
when
you
I
could
was
be in
down,
and out
yeah,
and more consistent with that run up, run down, da
exactly.
da da da.
Yeah.
But it
Because when I
don't
looked at
work.
the 15 minute and the 5 minute, it was like, oh no, this was hell. But then when went to the 1 hour, I'm like, oh no, it's good. It looks good. So yeah,
Because it is
the
gonna
1 hour
run up.
can't
I
go.
think it's gonna do a bit of a run up. It looked like that's what it's trying to do. It looks like it's trying to clear this order block and run up to the next one. And
Mm-hmm.
then pop up here and then possibly figure out what it's gonna do from there.
Yeah.
Um, it looks like that's what it may do. All of it,
Right.
nothing about what's happening right now looks like it's trying to just come down. It just doesn't at the moment.
Right.
Um, and then we have no red folders tomorrow or anything like that. So it's just gonna be straight liquidity pull, no other influence. And I think we can do that because there's nothing really moving that market like that where it can just bob $40, $30 easily. You just
Right.
sway within $30, $40 until big news hits that it either gonna
Right.
make us
And that,
freeze
but
to
isn't
a
that what you?
$5 move or actually move us 60.
Yeah, isn't that what Yesenia is doing? Is that Yesenia who's doing it in Sim that's doing these 30 and 40 handle moves? Yeah, is that yeah.
Because she
Yeah,
following the
that was
two
boss moving.
the 2 hour time frame. She's just going
Yeah,
1 2 hour order block the fair value gap to the next one.
yeah. I love it. I love it. Deborah's saying the contracts are hard to get out of doing zip on
Yeah, I
screen.
was about to show. I was about to pull up
Okay.
Sim. With Sim shit, if Sim triggered, then it'll trigger correctly for you as far as getting out, Deborah, in live. So I will do that. You shouldn't really have a problem. I haven't had when it comes to futures, I haven't had a problem getting out of futures at 2 a.m.
Me either. I was about to say because I did that one overnight and I got it. And when it started to reverse on me, I was able to get right out of it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and
I
no
got right
the
out of it. Yeah. Yep, I
Unless
just like
price
to.
is the only thing that prevents you from getting out of a futures trade is if price is moving too fast and where I'm at can't trigger. And even then it'll still trigger within another 5-10 minutes if I just wait. So that's my overall consensus. If anybody else feels like they've had trouble, but for sake of demonstrations, I can do now. I don't know if you're speaking more of like the options contracts and you're more worried about the options contracts in particular.
Yeah, it was the
Um,
options that I had got in one time and I had a hard time getting out of it.
yeah, so I think so what we want to do when we play options all the time is pay attention to open interest when we get in. Right? So were you on a high open interest contract? Do you remember? Because
I
that's
am not sure.
okay. So
I
that's
was
some
just
what?
something.
Got it. So that's what we want to pay attention to. Cause that's what has, from my experience, usually when my orders don't fill with ES, I'm in a contract that has very low open interest. As long as I stay to something that has a couple hundred or more, then, and this is MES. And so MES is not really those contracts, I ain't gonna lie. MES option contracts are typically low. Let's just go over that first. Okay. So if you're gonna do MES contracts, the open interest is going to be low. So you're going to have to pinpoint these ones that can really, 50s, 20, something that gives you some people that lets you know there's people willing to buy it back, sell it, from you. You can't do anything if there's nobody on the other side. You got to always remember that. So this is going to help you pick the right contract because the price difference in the options on that micro side is very, small. So you should be okay. Now with ES, the numbers should drastically change and you should get a lot more open interest because everybody know the ES pays more, so you got more open interest on that side of the house. So if we go to there and we go just a couple days out, we see my open interest is always on, so my open interest column, right? And we see that we're in like the 200s, 500s, 400, so we want to stay, the thousands. Anything that's a higher, you always just want to go with better high open interest when it comes to options. And that will help ensure your orders get filled. So that's probably what happened. So let me know, pick higher open interest, and then Deborah, let me know if you still have that same issue. Um, and then we'll proceed from there, and I'll figure it out if you still have that issue. But I really think that's it, the open interest. That's what I was telling you, even with SPY and stuff. Like some SPY can go as high. You can get some contracts that have like tens of thousands of open interest on 50,000, stuff like that. Go think high. You see 200, oh, that's a lot. Well, could it be thousands? And when you see thousands, think, could it be 10,000? When you see 10,000, it usually, I haven't seen 100,000 yet, but could it? So that's all I'm saying. Just look for the highest. It will be good. I think you'll be good on getting out. Um, so yeah, so ultimately, if I were to wrap up at 6:35 tonight, this futures overnight trade, I probably, Tandra and anybody else who wants to trade this, I'm probably not going to take anything up unless we break and hold above this weekly fair value gap open line of 47.42. If I can hold there, then I may take something to ride up. As far as I'm concerned with that, I'm going from the long-term perspective, and I'll scalp up is what I mean. Like I'll scalp up and try to grab this liquidity, this 15-minute liquidity if we can do it. But if we don't, miss me. I'm
Right.
going to do puts and be
Okay.
down. Because I need a real strong signal up in this area. Like I need it to, because this is, and because I think this could even be quick, man. 9 handles. Come on, Tandra. That's gonna be so fast if you ain't there
Right.
looking at it.
Yeah.
So you either gonna place an order and know that it's gonna come up and do it. But if it doesn't, if it just wants to bob around and never hit, then it's not even gonna try, it's gonna turn around. And I don't want that. So I'll set an alert here And I'll set a second alert at the close of this. What I want. Is there anything on a 2-hour? I got nothing. It's just all wicked wishiness. Oh, let's see. That 15. Let's see. Hold on. Okay. So that where I put the 15-minute is the close. Let me relabel this. Hold on. 15-minute. Everybody at close. That should be the close. Should be that top line. Okay. So the 15-minute for regular close is top of that. And then the 2-hour wet, if we went over this most recent wet, not this one, because that's really trying some stuff. But at least this one, I know we could probably catch that little, so I can put, but at that point, the grab is smaller. It's like, that's why, me personally, I don't know. Everything that we talked about today, y'all, this turnaround, the daily, I'm just not confident on it. So we'll just set alerts. So since the top of that wick matches that close of this teeny tiny little fair value gap, I'll go ahead and put an alert there as another alert just to be like, ooh, let me see what's happening. That's the mindset I got. Ooh, let me see what's happening. And then, because I know the grab ain't really there, but it's like, I really need to know what's happening in between these two lines before I can trust the price really wants. If I miss it, I miss it. I don't care. And then because this whole pattern needs to confirm that it wants bullish before I take any bullish, or I'd rather just sit tight, wait for it to even get all the way up here, all that wiki turning around, blah, 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 and then get in the put and ride the sucker all the way down. I much rather, if it's going to fail at a higher, I much rather wait for that. So I'm going to put alerts to kind of guide me through gauging what the candles are doing before I enter.
Right. Sounds good. Okay.
All right. So I'll leave y'all with that tonight. Y'all take care.